Hello, friends of Riverbend United Church, and welcome to this service of worship. I'm glad you're here today, wherever you are in the world. I'm glad you're here to worship with us. This is yet another day our God has made, and we've gathered to rejoice and be glad in it. If not in body, then definitely in spirit. We are an affirming congregation of the United Church of Canada, which means no matter what, you are welcome. We are also a treaty people, and we remember that we live and work and worship and serve on Treaty 6 lands. May we do so to honor those who have come before us. We invite you this morning to recognize that, Today we are doing our second week of a series called In the Garden, which is why I'm here sitting in the church garden planted by members of the church. We'll hear more about that in a bit. And next week, as I'm on holidays, Joel Fleck will be leading worship, and the 2 weeks following, David Faber will be leading. So I hope you will tune in for those services coming up. This week in your prayers, I invite you to remember Gail and Ori Windjack. Ori is okay. The final effects are still pending, but he was struck by lightning on the golf course on Monday, that morning storm, if you remember. And he's mobile, he's talking, he's fine, but it'll be a few days before he knows for sure if there are more effects to heal from. Ori is grateful to be alive, and if you know Ori, you know that that's fitting for him. He's always grateful for something. He lives and walks and breathes gratitude. He was struck by lightning also on the golf course in 1987, and so he believes he's got a second lease on life, and now a third. So we can all learn from his gratitude. So to begin our worship this morning, I invite us all to take a breath and find something new to be grateful for. And then this week, each morning as we rise and each night as we lie down to go to sleep, may we do so being grateful for something. Every day this week, let's see if our lives become different. We're invited to join our choir in singing Praise to the Lord, a new hymn. Thanks to Paula Roberts for directing and Jamie Kidd, her husband, for engineering the sound. Let's sing together.
Soul praise him at all times.
I want to invite us to take a moment and zoom out from our scripture stories. You remember that the story of life in our Bible begins with the void. Darkness covers the face of the deep. It's pure silence, pure stillness, the void, nothing. And from that, a wind of God sweeps over the waters and life is born. The sun and the moon and the stars, the earth and all its living critters, and then humanity. And you remember the story of Adam and Eve in the garden, being told they can enjoy of any tree except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They eat its fruit, they realize they are naked, they're vulnerable, exposed, and they immediately cover themselves. Their first step out of innocence, their first step out of home, the first step of separation of humanity. We go through it as babes as well. That story of our separation from our true home, the Garden of Eden, innocence of humanity, occurs on the earth. Move through the stories of the Judeo-Christian tradition, through Noah and the flood and the regeneration of the earth and the covenant, and then move through Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, move through Moses, freeing the children of Israel from slavery in Egypt, tolerating their complaints in the desert as they wandered for 40 years, waiting for the promised land. Keep moving through the Judaic history, through the Babylonian exile, when the children of Israel were taken from the temple, which they saw as their home, the place of God where they could worship. Move through that into a world of utter disarray and chaos. Is born Jesus. Then fast forward, Jesus is an adult, he's teaching, he's in ministry, he has followers, he's bringing not peace but a sword of truth, because his is a radical love into which all are welcome, because it is our true home that we begin with in the garden as humanity. A love that is so radical that if we are inclined to live only for me and mine and protect, then it feels like a sword that he brings. If we are inclined to respond to the call of the source of God upon our lives, then it may feel like peace and comfort. Jesus' last prayer upon earth was in the Garden of Gethsemane. Just before he's crucified, he's in the Garden of Gethsemane where he prays that they may be one, O God, as you and I are one. That oneness with God is what Jesus lived. That oneness that Jesus prayed for his followers, his disciples, this world of humanity, that oneness is our true home. It's what Adam and Eve in the beginning in the Garden of Eden left when they realized that there was good and bad, when they started making judgments, when they saw that they were exposed. All of this story of our faith tradition, all of the story of humanity and all of its wars and its challenges and its droughts and its diseases and plagues, in all of its beauty and love shared and generosity offered and companionship enjoyed, all of it has unfolded on the face of this earth. What is it that's sustaining us as life? What is it that's sustaining this garden and turns the sunshine and the water and the nutrients of the soil into a fruit of the vine that is nourishing to the bodies that eat it. Human, insect, mice, whatever. What is it that's sustaining the earth as it spins on its axis every single day, coming around, bringing day in from night? What is it that causes it to turn around the sun yearly, year after year, generation after generation, millennia upon millennia, to the beginnings of time? From there, what is it that has called forth life to emerge? What is it that sustains it all? I invite us this week not to take it for granted, the thing we call air, this beautiful ball of fire in the sun that warms us and brings summer. Let's not take it for granted, the way the systems work, the earth and the atmosphere producing moisture that waters the earth and returns through the oceans into the skies. Let's not take it for granted, the way our earth spins when we lie down and go to sleep and when we rise in the dawn. Let us be grateful. Life is a garden, an intricate, complex system of connection, receiving and giving. Let's not take it for granted. I invite us to enjoy each day's beauty, to find something to be grateful for, to look at a garden, any garden, even a flower in your windowsill, as a gift of grace. We're invited now to tour 2 gardens of church members, Mike and Gail Zilinksy, and also Stephen and Fiona Bamforth. The latter will tell us about this church garden in which I'm enjoying now. Let's go to the Zilinskys first. I'm here in the back garden of Mike and Gail Zilinksy. Gail is a little camera shy, so we will hear from her. And Mike will take us on a tour of their beautiful garden. Are you ready for this?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So there's a tree here that Gail's going to tell us about.
This is a tree that my daughter got when she was in grade 1, the Arbor Day tree. I'm sure everybody has one in their yard, and nobody expected it to get as big as it did. There you go.
So it's how old now, Gail?
Probably 35 years.
Okay.
And we decorate our yard with old wagon wheels from the farms.
Yep.
Always good to go back to your roots.
Good to go back to your roots. For you folks who may not know Mike and Gail, they sit at the back on the right side near the sound desk.
Old, but
The cherry
still
tree
growing.
is about 2 weeks away from ripening. The cherries get bigger. It's a sour cherry tree. It's called a meteor cherry tree. Not the Evans tree that everybody has. This one's from BC.
And Mike's COVID project this year was planting tomatoes from seeds.
Yeah,
So we have a lot of tomatoes.
I've got 12 varieties of tomatoes here, mainly Italian ones again, a lot of Romas, and blooming over there with the purple flowers, that's actually a banana potato that we're growing in pots, and they just bloomed. And this over to the left here, that's a goji berry. These grow in the river valley in Edmonton wild, and they produce these tiny little berries, red berries, and we
Wow,
come over,
look at this. Just look at this.
we come over to the Garden of Eden.
The Garden of Eden, that's appropriate for this week?
The
Or
lily pads
last
look-
week or
are
next?
very nice, but they haven't, the lilies haven't come, the buds haven't come out yet. And this is it. This is where we hang out, and we grow tomatoes, and we grow peppers, and
Did you all dig this this pond?
Dug it by
Yes.
hand. We
Uh,
actually laid out hoses and marked the way we wanted it, and we dug it and put wheelbarrows up to make a waterfall at the other end.
so this used to be just plain, just grass, and then we, like Gail said, we dug out the pond, and then put all the soil up there, so as you go up there, there's a waterfall, and it sort of comes down with,
I see it.
yeah. And we like to decorate the yard with
Wait.
old farm things again, like old pulleys and tractor parts. If you a lot of these here were from wells, water wells, and some are just from hauling bales up to the barns, hayloft, and old bed frame. So you can decorate your yard pretty good. This weather vane here is quite old, probably from the 1920s or 30s.
Weather vane.
Copper or brass or whatever.
I love it.
Very valuable. Don't give our address, please.
And those ferns, it looks so almost tropical.
Yeah, well, and everything comes up at once. You know, it's like one day we have snow and we're cold, and within a matter of a few weeks, everything just greens up.
Do you have anything to say, Gail?
I'm just saying those ferns, I do hack away at them with a machete now. They do take
Right.
things over. But I do like the greenery. There's different textures and different colors
We
of
can
green.
walk around
and-
the other way if you like.
Yeah.
It's good.
Okay.
This is, again, things that you can do. We buy roses in the winter or get them for different people or mothers or whatever. And then we bring them out in the summer, and these are like little tea roses, and we just plant them, and they got buds on them, fertilize them, and we'll take them in. They're not hardy, so we'll take them in for the winter again, if we feel like it. Saskatoon tree just above your, still some beautiful Saskatoons.
We
These-
got
and these
like
are nice
12
big
cups
ones.
of Saskatoons off
Here,
of it,
try one,
so
Valerie. How many did we
12
get, Gail?
cups.
12 cups of Saskatoons off
It's enough
this
for
bush.
3 pies.
I have seeds.
They
Whenever the neighborhood kids come over, we like to show them. They like to always go on the bridge.
Beautiful.
This is the bridge. And believe it or not, this is rubberized. And we planted a few plants. And over the last 20 years, everything starts to grow in, just like in the wild. So you got all these things from, we don't know where some of these plants came from. From
Oh.
bird droppings, from wherever. They just, and the birds, they come here because they're attracted by the water. And
This little tree, I call it ostrich. What happened is
used to be a spruce tree.
we had bought a bird's nest spruce, and one year it got really cold, and the bird's nest part of it died off, but whatever it was grafted onto grew into a nice little spruce tree.
Yeah.
And it grew like that for years and years and years. And this spring,
Like 2 legs.
a bunch of birds landed up in the tree, and I don't know what they did, but all the bottom died off. And so I started taking away the bottom branches.
Yeah, we are now getting into topiary.
Yeah, and so
This is our first ostrich.
it looks like ostrich legs to me. So
Okay.
And the cranes.
Oh, the cranes,
And
right.
believe it or not, about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, there was a mallard duck that came and flew and landed in our pond and stayed here for a day and a half until we scared it away.
the dog scared her away.
Use of Japanese plum tree.
So gorgeous.
This is, I guess you call
High
it
bush cranberry.
high bush cranberries. And so these grow in the river valley, but this is a nursery plant. And we'll get a pail of red berries and make jelly and off it. Yeah.
So can I ask you too, this is clearly a lot of work. It's so beautiful. What is it that, why do you put so much into it? What is it about it, gardening, that feeds you?
Why go on a holiday when you can enjoy your own backyard, number one. Number two, I guess one way to say it's God's creation, and why did He allow us to grow these if we weren't made to enjoy them? So we really do enjoy our yard, and once you have got it at a certain level, it's just maintaining. It's not that much work. You know?
It's actually quite soothing. I like to come out first thing in the morning, and I'll pick a few weeds or whatever, and nobody's around, and just hang out for a while. And I don't sit in the sun and read a book or whatever. I'd rather be doing something. So why not do this? And most of it, like Mike says, takes care of itself. So it's really not that hard.
These are like 60 feet tall, and I took off the bottom branches because I thought one day we can log this and make walnut furniture out of it. But these are butternuts, and they produce, and all these, they're actually edible, but a lot of people don't eat them. The squirrels take them. They're like the size of a walnut.
Okay.
And this is my espalier apple, which has about 6 varieties of apples on it that I've grafted.
Right on the side of a house.
Yeah, so it just happens that we grew this on purpose and we're training it. It's kind of distressed right now because I just took a bunch of branches because it needs sun. So it's getting sun again, but the apples are coming.
Yep.
And some of these apples I took from little grafts from British Columbia. So this is called a canny apple. And sometimes there's like a yellow delicious or a Fuji that aren't supposed to grow in Alberta, but here it's pretty protected.
Yep.
So they look kind of distressed now. I gotta get one.
Well, I appreciate both of you taking the time to show us around and give us a tour of your garden and all your work through the years. It's really quite lovely. Here we go. Good afternoon, friends. It is, what day is it?
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday, and I'm here at the home of Stephen and Fiona Bamforth, and they're going to show us their garden. How are you all today?
We're good. We're pretty good. Yeah.
So we'll start with the front and then progress to the back.
Excellent. Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
It's basically a series of different garden rooms. So I'll show you each room.
Super. And I will say they asked me if I'm allergic to bees because some of you know Matthew Schoenhart, who dropped off some bees for them to bee sit. So this will be an adventure, or not? It will be an adventure. All right.
Well, this is we call this the gnome coming, and we've had gnomes lodging with us for the summer for about 4 years. And every year the population increases. I don't know where these gnomes are coming from.
They're very Canadian gnomes.
They're
You can
very
see by
Canadian
all
gnomes,
the flags.
yes,
The
and we
truck
have-
over there has the names of all the provinces and territories
Aha.
over there.
And it's very popular with the neighbourhood kids. It's always lovely to see them stop by and make sure all the gnomes are present.
You can see from the flattened grass here, we get a lot
Yeah,
of
people are just
visitors.
walking across.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we've tried to put some plants in as well. They're a little bit past their best because the tiny pots, which are gnome-sized pots, require a lot of water and they tend to die out. But this is a lot of fun.
That's great. Super.
It's a very small yard, so it needs to fulfill a large number of different functions. So that area down there is the business function. So that's where the berries grow and where the washing gets dry.
Our basement flooded last night.
That's right. And then we come into the kitchen garden, which really isn't very interesting. Kitchen gardens aren't that interesting because they're a lot of one type of plants and they don't have flowers. This pot here is a wild flower pot, and it's there to entice the bugs and the bees that pollinate the kitchen garden.
Okay. By kitchen garden, do you mean herbs?
No, actually, there's peppers, beans, dwarf French beans, carrots, onions. There's a cabbage patch. Yeah.
I see. Vegetables.
And
Kitchen garden.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we have.
This is the herb patch over here,
Okay.
which is closer to the house, so I can just nip out and snip stuff when I'm cooking.
We regard gardening as being a circle, and within that circle there are constraints that you have to follow. You can't plant in January outside, you're not going to get much, and it's comforting to be within that circle. On the other hand, gardening provides you a challenge to just explore outside the circle. So you can grow seeds which are not from in a temperate climate, and Steve has grown snake beans which are from India,
India, yeah.
and they look as though we might actually get some snake beans this year.
2.
2 snake beans, there you are. And it's always a challenge when you read on the seed packet, this is for expert gardeners. Most of the times they won't germinate, but when they do, it's really exciting to have something which is a bit of a challenge to germinate.
And this is a small garden, so the trick is to make it look bigger. And we also like the wild look. So it's taken us about 5 or 6 years to get it to that wild look, hasn't it?
And wild means we have lots of weeds which are fairly decorative, and we've got a lot of self-seeded poppies and forget-me-nots and borage, which kind of makes it look untidy, and we like untidy. Don't think it's any dumb.
And so do the bees and the birds.
Yeah. Beautiful. And you two have created the garden at the church as well, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. We started last year, and we just have 2 containers, which is about 64 square feet.
But they're
And
pretty productive.
They're pretty productive.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
last year was very much an experimental year.
Yeah.
We tried to put in seeds that we knew would be easy to grow. And we learned that if you're trying to provide community with food, they don't want a whole bunch of leafy lettuces and chard because they don't keep. So this year we've made a few changes. We've grown less leafy vegetables, we've got more root vegetables, we've got carrots, we've got turnips.
And cabbages. Cabbages
Lots
galore.
of cabbages.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
planted 14 cabbages and
Yeah.
they are just beautiful.
Yeah.
We've got tomatoes and lots of kale.
Okay.
And, it's done
And zucchini.
And what do you do with the produce?
well, last year, before COVID, it was not difficult to give it to the community. And Cheryl Bohe was instrumental in that. And we also provided, Steve actually cooked a dish for the harvest.
Yeah.
summer.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yes, and this year was a little bit more of a challenge.
Yeah.
We didn't want a whole lot of people because of social distancing planting, and we had Katrina Dickey-Bald and ourselves for most of the planting, and the good Lord has provided most of the water this year. We haven't had
Copiously.
Right.
copiously.
Yes.
We haven't had to do much.
No.
The leafy veg, again, we offered to Michelle Bohe, and she's taken most of that now. Most of that's done. And we have a lot of cabbages and zucchini ready at the moment. And to come, we've got beets, root veg.
Turnips
That'll be a
ready.
little later.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's done amazingly well. I was surprised.
Yeah.
And do people just, if they want it?
People are
We
welcome
would-
to take it themselves whenever they
absolutely.
want.
Yeah, yeah.
The worst that can happen is it to go to waste.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, do you know what it is about gardening that you enjoy so much, that beckons you to spend so much time and commitment, or anything that feeds your soul in gardening?
It's difficult. It's not easy.
Okay.
And there's always something to learn. No matter how many years you've been doing it, there's always something new to learn.
That's right, and nothing's ever perfect. So I'm looking at that
No.
bed there, and I know next year I've got to do a few things different.
Aha.
So it keeps us on the toes, and we find it very rewarding.